The home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads. Well, here we go again on our own, like that old White Snake song that I like to reference ever so often, because they are one of the most underrated hair bands of all time. Check out White Snake if y'all get a chance. But this is the OCF, that's Outlaw of College Football, also known as JPC on Facebook, spelled J-E-S-S-C without the I, also on Twitter at OCF Productions. Now, getting right to it here. Finally got it done. Finally got the deal done that we all been waiting on. We all sort of had an inkling, an idea that maybe this might get done a little bit earlier than 2025, but they flip-flopped so much that we started thinking that maybe they are going to wait till 2025. But there's a lot of huge benefits in them leaving early, not just for Oklahoma and Texas, but for the Big 12 as well. You know, the Big 12 has had a little angst about all this, and you can't really blame them because, in a way, Oklahoma and Texas sort of done it on the sly, as much as I hate to admit that. Back in December of the previous year, before they joined the SEC, they were in meetings with the Big 12, as was Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, at some of the playoff meetings, and there was no inkling given. But as one of my podcast partners that I partner up with from time to time, Kuz from Kuz's Corner, said, you really can't do that. You can't really come out and tell people what you're thinking all the time, because sometimes they might lawyer up and maybe screw you out of being able to do what you want to do, what you think is best for your program in the future. And Big 12 has some rights to be mad and pissed off, but they also don't have the right, to me, to try to hold these teams hostage and act like scorned lovers. And my point the whole time is why don't you let them out early so you can at least recoup some money? I mean, if they had stayed at 2025, you probably wouldn't have gotten as much money. I'm not sure of the details of that, but more likely it wouldn't have been very beneficial for either parties to wait until 2025. So they got the deal done. Instead of $168 million split two ways between Texas and Oklahoma, it's now $100 million. So it's only $50 million apiece. Only $50 million. That sounds funny, right? But some of the benefits for Texas and Oklahoma leaving early. I know a lot of Oklahoma fans that I've talked to, and some Texas fans have said that they really wanted to stay to 2025 to try to get themselves set and ready for the SEC. But in my opinion, you just go ahead and get it done, because not SEC, but the Big 12 officials have shown the propensity to be a little biased in how they call games. And normally I don't lean on that because, you know, there's too many people that try to blame the refs. But there was a big disparity in how many penalties were called against Texas and Oklahoma's opponents throughout the year. I think they only got 2 holding calls for Texas and only 1 holding call for Oklahoma all year against 9 opponents for both teams. That's a total of 18 games. So it's better if y'all just come on and go to the SEC. Now, the benefits of what's been going on with Texas and Oklahoma being in the SEC and having that to sort of sell themselves to recruits is already showing its benefits hugely. In the recruiting rankings just this past year, I think 1 through 4 was Alabama, Georgia, Texas, and Oklahoma. If Texas and Oklahoma were already in the SEC would own the entire top 4. Now, even for the SEC, that's unheard of. But that's what you're looking at in the future with Texas and Oklahoma coming on board. This ain't like they're adding teams that have had a slight history of being successful, like when they added Arkansas and South Carolina in 1992. Arkansas had a bit of tradition. South Carolina, not really. And then they added Texas A&M and Missouri. What was it, like 2011 or 12 or something? Texas A&M, they got a little bit of tradition here and there, but not that much. Missouri, not so much. These two teams are the two teams that the SEC wanted all along, to be honest with you. Texas A&M and Missouri were the backup plans. So Texas A&M, Missouri, although Texas A&M is pissed that Texas is coming over, they need to really be grateful to Oklahoma and Texas for not taking them two invites back then, because today I'm not so sure if they'd already got Texas and Oklahoma back in 2012, more than likely they would not have invited Texas A&M, Missouri this go around. They might have went in another area. Now Texas A&M maybe, but I definitely think Missouri would have been ass out. Also, looking down here at the notes, now you did lose. Especially Texas. I think Texas might lose a non-conference tilt that was real attractive in Michigan. They haven't canceled it yet, but would not surprise me if Texas had to cancel that in order to make room for the new SEC schools on their schedule. And here's another thing that's been brought up from time to time by Oklahoma and Texas fans both, because they would like to get the economic benefits of the Red River rivalry in their campus towns, Norman and Austin, especially Norman. You know, Norman's not the biggest city in the world, sort of like Tuscaloosa. So a huge impact from a game like the Red River rivalry would be pretty nice and pretty epic for the town of Norman. A lot of purists would say, no, man, let's not do that. You know, we've already seen a bunch of rivalries go by the wayside that used to, like the Iron Bowl. You know, Alabama and Auburn used to be in Birmingham. Now it's on campus. And they ain't got to do it every year, but maybe do it in a rotational type deal. You know, maybe give 2 games to Dallas and then 2 on campus. 2 to Dallas, 2 on campus every so often. Because while it probably would be pretty nice to see Oklahoma and Texas play on-campus games against each other, especially since they're going to be in a pretty nice-sized conference at this point, I think that the benefits of playing the game in Dallas, because Dallas is such a big city and a hotbed for recruiting, I think it has a lot of benefits by keeping the Red River rivalry there. So as far as getting away from the Red River rivalry altogether, maybe do something different, a little outside the box, and have a rotational thing with Norman, Austin, and Dallas, where Dallas gets 2, and then Norman and Austin get the next 2. I don't know. You guys can tell me about that. Y'all know more about this than I do. You Oklahoma and Texas fans out there, give me your opinions on whether the Red River rivalry should go to campus games or maybe be split up some way like I was talking about. Also, Dallas is somewhat of a Big 12 town, because TCU's in Fort Worth, which is like a sister cities like Minneapolis and St. Paul. They're like twin cities right next to each other. Not to mention SMU is in Dallas, and SMU, from what I'm hearing, is in talks with the Pac-12. So you'd have a team in Dallas that's a Pac-12 school and one that's in the Big 12 in TCU that's right next to it. So maybe that would be some of the thinking of getting it on campus. But I still think Texas and Oklahoma, as far as alumni and boosters and whatnot, still owns those 2 towns, because TCU is a Johnny-come-lately, and SMU hasn't been anything for quite some time. Another good thing is you'll be able to sell your season ticket packages a lot better with games like, you have games like Kansas and Iowa State. While those are decent programs, Kansas and Iowa State, it's not going to bring you the same eyeballs and the same excitement as you would have with games against Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M, Auburn, Florida, Tennessee. All those games, you got to admit, are a lot more attractive than Kansas or Iowa State. So your season ticket packages, you'll probably be able to up the prices a little bit, and you can probably make a lot more money off your tickets with these more marquee matchups in the future. And the last thing that I really have sort of expounded on, I'm going to do it again. This is why I was saying, and why I was a little upset that OU and Texas had to play these new conference teams. First of all, they didn't want these conference. They didn't want to play these teams. They didn't really want to agree or disagree on it, because they're about to leave. Although now that I look at it, hindsight's 2020, they probably should have went to the meetings and voted against it, because I don't think it's fair that Oklahoma and Texas have to play any road games against these new teams, considering they're not going to get a return. Now, if they were going to stay the full 2 years until 2025, and they were going to get a return game from teams like Cincinnati and BYU and Houston and Central Florida, then I'd be okay with it. But the fact that they don't get a return game, I just don't think that's cool at all. If I was Oklahoma and Texas fans, I'd be pissed off about all that. But it's going to be a brand new day. It's going to be one of the most traditionally rich conferences of all time. Not just in football, but in basketball and other sports as well, like softball. I know a lot of SEC programs don't have wrestling and other sports like that Oklahoma does. But I'm really excited about it. You guys and gals, tell me what you think about all this. Drop it in the comment section. Also, there's a heart down here. If you don't mind, hit that. Throw a few dollars in the coffers. It says heart thanks at the bottom. And as always, KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.